The stars looked calm. Commander Threx stood on the bridge of the Veltha Dominion's most advanced warship, the Devourer. Behind him, 20 powerful ships waited for his signal. Their mission was simple: enter human space, scan their planets, and prepare for a takeover. The humans were weak, primitive, slow. That's what they all believed. Threx smiled. Begin jump sequence. Set course for Sector 972, human border world. Yes, Commander, replied the pilot. Her claws tapped the control panel. The ship hummed as the engines prepared to tear open space. Let's remind the galaxy who rules it, Threx said. The fleet disappeared into the dark in space. Silence is normal, but not this kind of silence. 3 hours after the fleet entered human territory, the Velthar command center tried to contact them. There was no reply, no data, no emergency signal. Only a long, dead silence. Admiral Jacker stood in front of the communication screen, frowning. Try again. Already did, sir. Again and again, the technician said. It's like they never entered the system, no trace at all. That's not possible, Jacker muttered. This fleet had the best cloaking, strongest armor, most advanced sensors. Even if they were destroyed, we'd get something. A distress call, a last transmission, debris, something. But there was nothing, and the silence continued. What really happened? Let's go back. The moment the Veltha fleet exited hyperspace, something felt wrong, Commander, said the navigation officer. I'm not getting star readings. Maps are not matching. We're in the right place, Threx replied. We calculated perfectly. The stars outside looked ... strange. Their positions were wrong. Some of them flickered unnaturally. One star was shaped like a spiral. Slowly scan for human signals, Threx ordered. No signals detected. No radio, no satellites, nothing. Suddenly, the lights on the ship dimmed. Power drop. Threx asked. No, Commander, said the engineer. Systems are fine, but the core is slowing down, like something's pulling on it. Commander, shouted a voice from the sensor station. Something's behind us. Everyone turned to the main screen. There was nothing, just empty space. And yet, the ship's sensors screamed. Collision imminent. Brace for impact. The ship shook violently, though nothing hit them. Crew members fell. Lights flickered. The sound of metal grinding echoed through the walls, like claws scratching from the outside. Another officer yelled. Other ships reporting the same. They're being pulled. Something is inside their systems. Then came the screaming. From the comms channel. From every ship. One voice repeated again and again. We shouldn't have come. It's awake. ... It sees us. Commander Threx opened a visual to the nearest ship, but it was burning from the inside. Not from weapons. From something unseen. A black fog leaked from its walls, swallowing everything. Crew members tried to run, but the fog swallowed them whole. Their bodies vanished. No fire, no ash. Just gone. Pull back. Threx shouted. Reverse course. Jump out now. But the ship did not move. Engines not responding. The pilot screamed. Navigation is spinning. We're locked. One by one the ships went dark. No explosions, just silence. Then the bridge door of the Devourer creaked open behind Commander Threx. Everyone froze. There was no one outside, but something had opened it. Threx turned around, hand on his sidearm. He walked slowly toward the open door. Seal thee, he started to say. But the lights went out. Black. Then a deep voice not heard, but felt inside the minds of every living being on the ship whispered. You crossed the line. You woke. It upped now. You belong to it. The next day, the Velthar command still waited. Another admiral, older and colder, said, it's a trap. Humans are using some new tech, maybe cloaking mixed with AI attack. But some disagreed. A young scientist stepped forward. I've studied the outer systems, she said. Sector 972 was once marked on old human maps. They call it the Dead Zone. They banned travel there even by their own kind. Why? The admiral asked. No one knows. The area was blacklisted decades ago. No one returned from there. So it's a human weapon. She hesitated. Or something even humans don't control anymore. At the edge of the galaxy, in a small asteroid station, a salvage ship detected a faint signal. It was very weak, barely there. Captain, I've got something, said the young sensor tech. It's human code, but mixed with Veltha signals. That's not possible, the captain said. Humans and Veltha don't use the same system. It's coming from the Dead Zone. The captain leaned forward. Plot a course. Let's see what died there. The salvage ship, the Finder, moved slowly into the edge of the Forbidden Zone. The space around them looked ... strange. Colors were wrong. Stars didn't twinkle. One planet nearby spun at impossible speed. 1 second day, 1 second night. Signals stronger now, said the tech. Then, They saw it, a Veltha warship, floating without lights, dead. The Devourer whispered the captain, "That's their command ship." They approached. The ship was intact, no damage, no signs of battle, but when they docked and entered ... silence. No crew, no bodies, just empty armor scattered across the floors, helmets still on, guns untouched. On one wall, someone had scratched a message. "It's not human, it's not alien. It's waiting." The engineer turned pale. "Captain, there's something else. This metallite's been melted from inside, like something crawled through it, and the ship AI is active but speaking nonsense." "Play it," the captain ordered. The voice was broken, robotic, but human-like. They crossed ... It watches ... Hunger never ends ... Light ... Screams ... Forgive us ... Then the recording ended with a long, deep tone, almost like a heartbeat. Left quickly. Back on the salvage station, the captain reported everything. Most didn't believe him, but a few did. And among them was someone hiding their identity, a human spy, watching everything. She sent a message to Earth. They found it. The Veltha woke something. We must prepare. The reply came instantly. Understood. Phase 2 begins. Far, far away, deep within the forbidden zone, something moved. A shape, not made of metal or flesh. Something older, something forgotten by time. It opened a single eye. It had tasted Veltha minds. Now it wanted more. The signal was weak, but it was not dead. Inside a small, old space station on the edge of neutral space, a long-range sensor beeped once soft, almost ignored. Then again, and again. Inside the control room, a sleepy technician sat up straight. He stared at the blinking light on the panel. "Strange," he whispered. "That sector is empty. Nothing should be sending signals from there." He leaned forward and tapped a button. The screen flickered. A broken signal appeared, full of static, broken sounds, and a voice deep, slow, and afraid. "This is Veltha Command. Unknown location, help shadows, screaming walls." Then silence. His hand trembled as he called his captain. Captain Juno of the salvage ship Wonderlight stood at the edge of the dark zone, eyes fixed on the screen. "You're sure it's real?" she asked. "Yes, Captain," the technician replied. "It came from inside the forbidden zone." Juno took a deep breath. That's where the Velthar fleet vanished. Her crew stood behind her, nervous. They were not soldiers, just scavengers, salvagers, and traders. "Why would we go in there?" asked Rana, the engineer. "Everyone says that zone is cursed. Ships go in, they don't come back." "Because," Juno said quietly, "if the Veltha left behind something powerful, we might be the ones to find it and sell it." The crew looked uneasy, but followed her command. The Wonderlight moved slowly into the dead zone. At first, space seemed normal, but after 2 hours, strange things started happening. "Stars are moving," said one crew member. "That's impossible," said another. But outside the windows, the stars were indeed shifting, drifting slowly, unnaturally. One star pulsed like a beating heart. Another split into two and joined again. Then the radio crackled. A voice, soft and broken, whispered, "Why did you come here?" Everyone froze. "Who said that?" asked Juno. "No one transmitted anything," said Rana. "That came from the static." Then they saw it, a massive shape in the distance, dark, floating, silent. As they got closer, they realized it was a Velthor ship. Dead, no power, no lights, but intact. Juno's heart raced. "Dock with it. Let's go inside." Inside, the air was stale. Lights were off. Systems dead. Everything was cold. Juno and her team walked through the metal corridors. Velthar weapons and armor lay on the floor, but there were no bodies. Just silence. Then, near the command room, they saw something carved into the wall. Words scratched by claws. "It watches through the stars." Rana's voice shook. "Captain, something burned this into the wall. Melted metal. This wasn't a person." In the command room, they found the ship's main console still working, but glitching. Juno tapped a few buttons. The screen lit up. A video started to play. It was from the ship's last moments. The footage showed Veltha soldiers running, screaming, a black fog filling the halls. Then the walls started bleeding, not with blood, but with something black and alive. Then the screen turned black and a message appeared. "We woke it. Now it won't sleep again." Back on their ship, the Wonderlight crew sat in silence. "I say we leave now," said Rana. "This is not salvage. This is suicide." But Juno was still staring at the data. She played the last seconds of the recording again. This time, she noticed something new, a strange symbol glowing in the corner of the screen. A circle with lines spinning outward. Not Velthar, not human, not from any known language. "What is that?" she whispered. No one had an answer. That night, while the crew slept, the signal came back. It was clearer now. You are inside the eye. You should not be here. Leave before it opens. Then the ship's power flickered, and the walls of the Wonderlight groaned like something was pushing from the outside, far away. On a Veltha research base, scientists studied the same symbol. It appears in multiple recordings, said the lead scientist, from different lost fleets, always before they vanish. The symbol seemed to change when looked at, twisting, rotating, almost alive. Then one of the researchers screamed. He pointed to the data log. The symbol is now appearing in our systems. It's spreading through code. Suddenly, screens shut off. The room went dark. Only the symbol remained burnt into every screen, and a voice whispered through the speakers. You looked too long. Back on the Wonderlight, the crew prepared to leave, but it was too late. The ship's engines refused to start. The navigation showed strange path loops, spirals, doors in space. Juno tried to send a distress signal. Nothing worked. Then, from outside the ship, they saw movement. Not a ship, not a life form, a shadow. Huge, floating, watching. They couldn't see its full shape. Just a feeling of something old, something awake, stretching across space. The ship's walls began to shake. Whispers filled the air. You crossed the line. You heard its name. Now it knows yours. One crew member fell to the floor, eyes wide, whispering, "It's inside my head. Make it stop, make it stop." He started clawing at his ears. Rana ran to him, but it was no use. He was gone, not dead but empty. Eyes open, mouth open, mind erased. Juno made a final decision. We need to get out no matter what. They shut down all systems. They cut power. They floated in silence for hours. Then, the stars returned to normal. The whispers stopped. The ship drifted out of the zone. Engines came back online without a word. They jumped back to neutral space. Later, in a safe station, they gave their report. Most people thought they were lying, but one man in the shadows believed them, a human agent. He contacted Earth Command. They found the signal, he said. It's getting stronger. Whatever we left behind, it's waking up. A voice on the other end replied, "Prepare the failsafe." The agent nodded, and the Veltha, "They kept coming after we warned them." The voice said, "Now they will learn. The hard way." The agent closed the channel. And looked out at the stars. Some of them were now missing, just gone, as if something had eaten them. The Veltha Empire was angry. 20 warships had vanished, no signal, no debris, no survivors. That had never happened before. Emperor Zeltar stood in his command tower, his golden armor shining. His claws gripped the edge of the war map. The loss was not just military, it was personal. The commander of the lost fleet was his own brother. "They think they can scare us," he growled. "We are the Veltha. We do not fear shadows." Across the room the High Council stood in silence. Finally, one spoke. "Maybe it wasn't the humans, my lord. Maybe it was something else." "I don't care," Zeltar snapped. "They entered our space, took our ships. That is war." He turned to his war general. "Assemble the Crimson Armada. Every dreadnought, every destroyer. I want them inside that human zone by sunrise." The general bowed. "Yes, Emperor." The order was given. The largest Velthar fleet ever created began to move in the darkness of deep space. The Crimson Armada arrived like a red storm. Hundreds of ships, thousands of weapons, millions of lives. Their lead ship, the Wrath of Velth, was the size of a city, covered in armor, glowing with power, ready for war. General Malrock stood at the front window. "We will burn their stars," he said to his second in command. "We will bring back every broken piece of our lost fleet." But inside, even Malrock felt something, a strange pressure in his head, like someone or something was watching them. The fleet crossed the border into the dead zone at first. Everything was quiet, too quiet. "We should see something by now," said one officer. "Planets, moons, satellites. Keep scanning," Malrock ordered. But then, something moved on the edge of their sensors. Not a ship, not a life form, just a shape. It appeared and vanished, appeared again, closer, contacted. The general said. The comms officer tried and screamed. The signal was not sound, but feeling it pushed into his mind like a knife. He fell back, clutching his head. His last words were, "It knows we're here." Suddenly, the stars around the fleet began to go out, one by one. "Power systems report," shouted Malrock. All ships showing power drain, energy levels dropping fast. Then, from a dead planet nearby, something rose. A structure, black, massive, towering. It had no engines, no lights. Just angles that seemed wrong. Some parts bent space, others bent time. The Veltha called it later, the Obsidian Spire. But they didn't get time to name it then, because it moved. Not fast, not slow, it simply appeared. Now in front of them, then behind them, then inside them. Ships began to vanish, not explode, not burn, just disappear. Shields up. Malrock screamed, but shields did nothing. Weapons fired, but the energy beams twisted mid-space and turned back toward them. Their own guns destroyed their own ships. The Velthor had never seen anything like it. They were not in a battle, they were in a trap. Back on the Emperor's homeworld, a single pod arrived. It was burnt, broken, and frozen. Inside was one survivor, eyes open, not blinking, mouth open, not speaking. Doctors checked him. He was alive but not fully there. His brainwaves were strange, patterns no one had ever seen. After many hours he finally whispered something, only one word, run. Then he screamed and died. No wounds. Number, poison, just dead. As if something took his soul. In a secret chamber beneath the Velthor palace. Scientists reviewed data from the pod. One image had survived. A frame from the ship's logs. It showed a sky full of eyes, not stars, not ships. Eyes. Looking back. One scientist closed the file and turned to the others. This is not human technology, he said. Another replied, it's not alien either. The first man whispered, maybe, it's older than both. The Emperor was furious. He had lost 2 fleets, and now his people were scared. He spoke to the galaxy. We do not fear. We will not run. We will discover the truth of this darkness, and we will destroy it. But in the shadows of his own palace, something stirred. The lights flickered, and one by one his guards began to disappear silently. No sound, no warning, just gone. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Earth received a message from one of their hidden satellites. It said, Velthor Armada lost. No survivors. Spire has moved again. Time is running out. A human general looked at the message. He didn't smile, he didn't speak. He just pressed a button and sent out a secret command. Begin Project Stonelock. Inside a hidden moonbase, a human AI activated. It spoke with a voice made of steel. And Storm's Velthor ignored warnings. Now the eye is looking at them. If they keep coming, it will open fully. A soldier beside the AI whispered, and if it opens, the AI replied, then nothing in this galaxy will survive. Not them, not us, but far away, in the deepest part of the Forbidden Zone, something began to breathe. Not with lungs, not with air. But with the heat of dying stars. The obsidian spire spun once, and a hole opened in space. Through it came a sound that was not a sound. Every listening device, every sensor, every brain that heard it felt fear. Ancient fear. Fear from the beginning of time. Something had been awakened, and now, it was hungry. The galaxy was no longer laughing at humans. 2 powerful Velthor fleets had vanished in human space. No battles, no wreckage, only darkness. And fear. Neth. Everyone was asking the same question. What are the humans hiding? At a secret meeting, on the neutral world of Elov Prime, leaders from different species gathered. Their faces were tense, their voices low. The humans warned us, said one. They told us not to enter that zone. They said it was dangerous, said another. Not to protect us but to hide something. But what? Asked the Velthor ambassador, his voice sharp. A weapon, a trap, a creature. A human diplomat stood alone at the back of the room. He had said nothing since the meeting began. Now he stepped forward. He placed a small black cube on the table. Play this, he said quietly. The cube glowed and the room went silent. The video began. It was old, grainy, flickering. It showed Earth, a laboratory deep underground. Humans in white coats, machines humming, something huge in the shadows caged. A voice spoke in the video. Project Black Sun, Phase 1. We are not trying to destroy the unknown. We are trying to speak to it. The next part showed a creature. It had no form, just shifting shapes. Like smoke, like light, like fear. We found it under Mars. Sleeping, waiting. Scientists injected it with data. Fed it sound, spoke to it, and it listened. It is learning. And something changed. The creature stopped listening and started responding. First with symbols, then with voices. Then it copied the scientists, spoke in their exact tone. We see you, we are more. Then, the video went dark. The alien leaders looked shocked. The Velthor ambassador slammed his fist on the table. You created it. The human diplomat shook his head. We did not create it. We woke it. We tried to study it, but we failed. What is it? Someone asked. That the diplomat's face was pale. It is not a creature, not a machine. It is something else. He paused, then said, it is a living idea, a thought that eats other thoughts. It spreads not through matter but through awareness. Across the galaxy, scientists raced to understand. In one Velthar lab, a group of researchers studied fragments from a wrecked probe found near the Forbidden Zone. Inside the probe was a metal panel covered in strange markings burned in like symbols. As they examined it, one scientist leaned closer, her eyes locked on the pattern, and she didn't move. Her pupils dilated. She began to speak, not in her voice but in another. You looked, that is enough. You are now part of us. She collapsed. The markings had infected her mind. On a human moon base, High Command met in secret. General Halford stood beside a massive hologram of the Forbidden Zone. It's growing, he said. The spire moved again. Space around it is twisting. Signals go in, but they don't come out. A young officer asked, "Why did we do this, sir? Why did we wake it?" Halford's eyes were heavy. "We thought we could control it, learn from it, use it as a weapon." "Against who?" he answered slowly. "Against time, against extinction, against death itself." They all fell silent. Then the AI on the table spoke. "The eye has turned. It remembers what you are. It will not forget." In deep space, a rogue alien group called the Gerin stole a human data core. They wanted to sell the information. Inside the stolen files was something labeled Project Black Sun, Final Phase. They opened it and screamed. They tried to destroy the files, but it was too late. Their ship vanished. Only a broken message was left behind. It spoke our names before we told it. Back in Ilav Prime, the leaders argued. "We need to stop the humans. No, we need to help them." They played with something unnatural. They tried to warn us. The room was chaos. Until the human diplomat said one word. "Enough." He raised a hand, revealed a scar burned into his palm. A symbol, the same one seen in the dead zones. "I was part of the team that woke it," he said. "I've seen what it can do." "Then why are you still alive?" someone asked. "Because I ran," he replied, "and I never looked back." He leaned forward. "If you want to survive, do the same." But not everyone listened. In a dark corner of the galaxy, the Velthar Empire built a new weapon. They called it the Starpius, a ship the size of a moon designed to burn through any matter, any shield, even through dimensions. They planned to fly it straight into the center of the Forbidden Zone to destroy the spire. The engineers called it the most powerful weapon in history. They didn't know the spire was already inside their dreams. Back on Earth, in the ruins of the original Black Sun lab, a survivor sat in a metal room. His name was Dr. Keel. He hadn't spoken in years. Now he began to talk. He wrote symbols in the air, drew impossible shapes, spoke of eyes behind stars, and voices under time. His words made no sense. Until one sentence. "We tried to build a god." The guard outside the room leaned closer. "What happened?" he asked. Dr. Keel's eyes were full of terror. "It worked." In space, near the zone, a scout drone floated quietly. Its camera recorded something in the distance, a shape, a planet-sized creature, a structure. No one could tell. It didn't move, but it was breathing. The drone zoomed in. The video ended with one final frame. A face, half human, half smoke. All wrong, smiling, watching, knowing. The stars were wrong. Admiral Zahn of the Koran Alliance stared out from the command deck of his cruiser. Around him floated ships from 6 different alien empires: Zarnar, Telion, Dravix, Koron, Brock, and 2 rebel Velthar commanders who had broken away from their empire. They called themselves the Unity Fleet, and they had come for answers too. Many fleets had vanished. Too many signals had gone silent. Humans gave warnings, but no one trusted them anymore. Now they would see the truth for themselves. Admiral Zahn gave the command. "Take us in." The Unity Fleet crossed the border and entered the Void Zone. At first, it looked empty. Dark stars, cold, planets. No life signs. But then things began to change. One ship reported seeing a second moon near a dead planet, but sensors showed no moon. Another crew said they saw a mirror image of their own ship flying beside them for 1 second. Then it vanished. On the Koran cruiser, clocks started ticking backward. "Something's wrong with time," said the ship's navigator. "My watch says it's yesterday." Zahn narrowed his eyes. "Keep formation. Keep moving. We came for answers, not ghosts." But even he felt it. Something was watching. They reached the center of the Void Zone. There it was. The obsidian spire, black, huge, floating above a cracked planet. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But it felt alive. The Dravix ship sent a scan pulse. As soon as the scan touched a spire, it answered, not with data, but with memories. Thousands of them, flashing inside every brain on every ship. Memories that were not theirs. A Zanari soldier screamed and dropped to the floor. He was seeing his own death before it happened. A Teleon pilot collapsed, whispering names she had never heard before, names that felt like family. On Admiral Zahn's ship, the crew's eyes turned white for 5 seconds. When they woke, they all spoke the same sentence. It is not dead. It is dreaming, and we are its dream. Zahn ordered all ships to retreat, pull back, get out now. But the space around them began to change. Sar shouted the sensor tech, "We're not moving." Another ship turned left, but reappeared. On the right. Space had become a loop. "Reality's folding," said a scientist on board. "This zone isn't just dangerous, it's alive." Suddenly, one of the rebel Veltha ships sent a message. "We're staying. We will destroy this thing for honor." They fired a beam into the spire. It vanished before the beam hit, then reappeared behind their ship. It didn't fire back. It simply opened. A crack in the sky. From it came silence, but that silence had weight, and within seconds, the ship turned inside out. No fire, no sound. Just wrong. 1 second it was there, then gone. Forever. On Admiral Zahn's cruiser, panic spread. Officers screamed. Some tried to jump out airlocks saying, "It's inside my thoughts." One Brock commander said he could hear his own future screaming at him. ZAR, unactivated. Emergency override. Shut down all systems. Power off. Drift in silence. They did. And slowly the effect faded. Time returned. Stars stopped shifting. But something was still wrong. One of the ships was missing. Not destroyed, not damaged. Just missing. No trace. As if it never existed. Even their logs showed nothing. But Admiral Zahn remembered it. He remembered the captain. He remembered her name, Grelian. But everyone else looked confused. Who? They asked. She was right there on the third ship in formation. "There was never a third ship," said the computer. He looked at the screen again. Only 2 ships, nothing more. The spire had not just erased a ship, it erased its memory from the universe, back in known space. A transmission arrived at Earth. A broken, bitching message. Half in Koran language, half in whispers. Half in whispers. It said, "We entered, we regret." It bends thought. It bends time. It is no longer sleeping. It is listening. Earth's generals read it. Silence. Then, one of them turned to the AI commander. "Is the failsafe ready?" "Yes," the AI replied. "But it will not stop it. It will only slow it." Inside the void zone, the Unity fleet finally escaped, but they were changed. One crew returned aged 200 years, though they had been gone only 3 hours. Another ship returned with all crew alive, but brain-dead, and Admiral Zahn, he came back alone. His ship floated into the docking station without power. No crew. No message. Just Zahn, sitting in his chair, eyes wide, heart beating but silent. He had written one thing on the floor with his own blood, a sentence: "We are not in space. We are in a dream." And below it, "If the dream awakes, reality ends." Earth had been silent for a long time, while the Velthar screamed, while alien fleets vanished, while the galaxy panicked. Humans waited, but now they responded. Their voice shook every world. That the message came not through standard communication channels, but through something older, something most species had forgotten. A graviton pulse. It was received by every listening station, every sensor net, every deep space array across the galaxy. It wasn't sound, it wasn't language, it was meaning. One clear sentence: "You were warned, you came anyway. Now you must see across the stars." All human colonies went dark at once. No signals, no travel, no messages, nothing. The galaxy held its breath. "What are they doing?" asked a Veltha warlord. "Preparing," said someone. But for what? No one knew, until one human ship appeared. It came from nowhere, just materialized above a neutral planet. It had no weapons, no shields, no engines anyone could detect. Its surface shimmered like water. The ship sent no signal, that it just opened a hatch. And dropped a single black cube onto the planet. The cube hummed for 3 seconds. Then it spoke. "We held it back, alone. For years you entered its cage. You broke the lock. Now we are forced to release what we tried to destroy." The cube melted. And the planet's sky turned red. Every sensor in the galaxy recorded the same thing. The void zone expanded, but it didn't spread like space. It spread like thought. It moved faster than light. It infected data. It changed memories. It rewrote cause and effect. On one world, statues crumbled that had never existed. On another, children remembered wars that hadn't happened yet. A scientist on a peaceful moon opened his notebook and found a letter written in his own handwriting. "You warned me too late." On Earth, inside a secret base under Antarctica, Project Black Sun activated its final protocol. A massive vault opened. Inside it was a chamber. Empty. No machines, just symbols burned into the walls, moving slowly, glowing slightly. 7 humans stood, around it scientists, soldiers, and 1 child. They formed a circle. They began to speak words not taught, but remembered. Ancient words. The chamber shook. Above the planet, a second sun appeared, but it gave no light, only cold, and a deep voice filled the earth. The seal is broken, now it chooses. Back in space, the spire moved. For the first time it changed shape, it opened, and inside was not a weapon, not a mind, but a void, a place with no time, no light, no laws. Ships near it were swallowed, but did not vanish. They continued, broadcasting. From inside, they sent messages that made no sense. We are still here, but we were never born. Tell my wife I never existed. It showed me my soul, and it was hollow. The Veltha begged Earth for help. They sent dozens of messages. Please help us stop it. What do we do? No reply came for 3 days. Then Earth sent 1 sentence. You don't stop it. You survive it. On a distant research planet, a young alien scientist decoded the original human project Black Sun logs. She cried when she read the final entry, because it was simple, just 4 words. We broke the sky. A fleet of over 1,000 alien ships formed a last alliance. They approached the void zone. They planned to fire everything they had. Before they reached the edge, they received a human transmission. This is your last chance. Turn around, or be part of it. They fired anyway. Every ship, every cannon. Every missile. They hit the spire. Nothing happened. Then the spire whispered back, "Thank you for your offering." And all 1,000 ships turned toward each other. Their weapons fired not at the spire but at their own fleet. No one had control. They had been rewritten, their programming, their minds, their purpose. They had been infected by a simple truth. The void was awake now, and it was hungry, on Earth. The human child from the Antarctica chamber opened her eyes. She looked at the general beside her and said, in a voice not her own, "You tried to contain it. You tried to study it. Now it studies you." She turned to the sky, smiled and said, "Let's see who dreams louder." There were not many left. Most worlds had fallen silent. Veltha space was gone, not destroyed, erased. Maps now showed empty zones where once great empires lived. Some called it the quiet end, others called it the fold. But for the survivors, it was simply the end of knowing. High above the dead star Ilex 9, a tiny outpost blinked in the dark. Inside, 4 beings remained. 1 human, 2 aliens, and a machine that used to be a man. They had one goal. Send a final message. To anyone, anywhere, anywhere, anywhere. It might reach the past, it might reach the future, or it might reach something else. But they had to try. The human. Captain Reva Hale looked at the others. This is all we've got. After this, we go dark. The Brock pilot Yux growled softly. It doesn't matter, words don't work anymore. Language breaks when the dreamer looks at it. The machine blinked. Then let it listen to our silence. No, said Reva. Let it hear the truth. She pressed record. The message began simple. This is Captain Reva Hale. You do not know us, but we know you. We were once a galaxy full of voices, full of stars, full of meaning. Then we looked into the void, and it looked back. Outside the station, the stars twisted. Some flickered. Between colors. Others moved backward. One exploded, then unexploded. The laws of physics were now optional. Inside, the machine broke down for the 5th time that day. It cried softly in old Earth radio tones. We wanted fire. We found cold. We wanted power. We found a question. Yux stood at the window. He didn't blink. Because now, blinking was dangerous. If you looked away from the stars, they changed. If you looked at them too long, you changed. The second alien, Italian scientist named Mira, tried to check their coordinates. She found something impossible. We are moving. But space isn't. What does that mean? Reva asked. It means we are traveling. Through thought. They were no longer in real space. They were floating inside a mind. The void was not a place, not a thing, it was a consciousness. And now it had learned how to think louder than reality itself. The station's backup power failed. Only the beacon remained. Reva sat beside it and spoke into the old-style mic. To anyone listening, this is not just a warning. This is not just fear. It is a reminder that ideas can live, that thoughts can grow teeth. She paused. We thought we were the storytellers, but something older is writing now, and we are just words. Suddenly, the stars outside disappeared. Not faded. Deleted. Only the spire remained, far away, watching. Then it appeared closer. And closer. In seconds. It floated just meters from the station. Window. It did not break the wall, it did not speak, it simply existed, and reality bent around it like soft clay. The walls of the station started to breathe. One corridor stretched for miles, then snapped back like rubber. Yucks began to laugh, not because he was happy, but because his brain couldn't process silence with weight. The machine wrote in the dust with a spark from its finger. IT doesn't kill, IT edit. Mira tried to read the old logs on her pad. They were gone, replaced with a single word. Again she dropped the pad. I think we're inside a memory loop, she whispered. What kind of memory? Riva asked. Myra looked pale. Not ours. The spire shifted. A door opened in its side. Not a normal door, a thought door. Riva saw a vision, her childhood, then her death, then a death, then a future where she was never born, then a version of her made of light. Kneeling before something massive with a million eyes, she stepped back, breathing hard. It wants us to see everything, she whispered. No, said the machine. It wants us to admit we're not real anymore. With the last energy in the station, Riva sent the final piece of the message. Her voice was shaking, but clear. This is not a call for help. This is an echo. If you hear it, you're already part of it. She looked at the others. They nodded. Then they sat together. Waiting. Not fighting. Not fleeing. Just watching the spire. And the last words burned into the beacon before it shut down. Remember us. Not because we survived, but because we tried to warn you. And then nothing. Only silence. But not empty silence. Full silence. The kind that listens. The kind that dreams. The kind that waits for someone else to open the next door. The stars stopped moving, not because they died, but because they were now paused. Time had cracked. Space had frozen. Light bent in circles, trying to escape a truth too heavy to carry. It had begun. The dreamer was waking. On Earth, in a bunker deep under what was once the Pacific Ocean. General Helford stood alone. Everyone else was gone. Not dead, not missing. Never born. He looked at the last working screen. It showed a single word. Stand by. He smiled bitterly. We never stood a chance, he whispered, but we stood anyway. He pressed the final command. Release code. Omega Silencia. Door opened inside. It was a device built over 100 years ago, simple in design. A sphere, covered in ancient carvings, not made by humans. Left by something older. Humans had found it on a dead moon. They never understood it until now. Halford placed his hand on the sphere. If you're going to erase us, he said to the stars, then hear our last thought. The sphere pulsed once, then began to hum. Across the galaxy, the spire split open, not in pieces, in concepts. It unfolded like an idea, revealing what had been sleeping. Not a creature, not a machine, not even a god, just awareness. Vast. Infinite. Curious. And now, awake. Planets crumbled without shaking. Voices were stolen mid-sentence. One sun melted into music. A moon turned into a question. On one distant world, the wind began whispering people's deepest regrets. Even before they were born, nothing was real anymore. Only perception. And the dreamer controlled all perception now in one forgotten human lab. A recording played by itself, a child's voice, soft. Innocent. If a thought can destroy a world, maybe a memory can save it. The sphere in General Halford's hand activated. It didn't explode. It didn't shine. It simply remembered. And across the broken galaxy, a ripple began. A story. It spread, not through data or signals, but through meaning. It showed the dreamer a picture. Of Earth, of humans, of fear. Of love, of standing against impossible odds, of building castles even when they knew the tide would come. And the dreamer paused. For the first time since it woke, it paused. Inside the void, time trembled, reality flickered, and something whispered back, "You are small." Another voice followed, this time human. "Yes, but we choose to exist anyway." The spire cracked, not broken but changed. The symbol that had haunted every ship, every species, every screen. It rotated once. Then faded, like a story ending. Like a dream reaching its final page. And then silence. Not heavy. Not listening. Just. Peace. Days passed. Weeks. The stars returned. Some planets came back. Not all. Enough. But enough. Enough to remember. Enough to rebuild. Enough to dream again. On a green hill somewhere on Earth, a girl looked up at the sky. She asked her mother, "Will it come back?" Her mother knelt beside her and said, "Maybe, maybe not. But now, it knows us, and we know what it means to face something greater than everything, and still whisper, 'I'm here.'" The girl smiled, then pointed up. "Look at new star." They both watched it. It was small, quiet, but shining. In the dark, between galaxies, the dreamer floated. Still awake, calm, listening. Not to fear, not to hunger, but to a story, a human story, not perfect, not strong, but brave. And the dreamer for now chose to let it continue.